Hello everyone, this is Seah. Once again, thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to continue with my explorations on the King Grinder K6, and in this particular setting I'm going to test the King Grinder against the Commandante um, in its espresso capabilities. And for today I'm going to play with my baby Femina, right, which is actually a spring level espresso machines from Feynman. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Right, so basically, I've tested the Commandante for its espresso grind settings. Um, Sadly to say, I have to grind at the setting of 1. 0 is the finest possible. So 1 is the setting I can go for. Of course, this is without the installation of the red clicks. With the red clicks, your grind setting doubles, which I'll probably do very soon because I actually got the red clicks purchased many months back. But I just don't have the time to fix it. Maybe I'll just finally fix it on my Commandante. So I'll be grinding probably 14 to 15 grams of coffee so that I can pull a shot on the Femina, right? And on the King grinder, currently my settings for espresso is at 40. Yesterday I tested it on my Femina Urania, right? It is extracting a little bit slow as compared to Commandante. So I'm going to try to increase the grind setting to 42 and then see how it goes today. So I'll grind about 15 grams of coffee on both grinders, and then I'll time how long it takes to grind the coffee and my experience in grinding on both grinders, right? So without further ado, let's get started. Let's first test it on the Commandante. 15 grams of coffee. By the way, the beans I'm using today is the Yunnan pea berries, right? I think we are the only cafe in Singapore that have so many varieties of the Yunnan coffee, right? And Yunnan pea berries, we tend to roast it to medium, a little bit past medium, but not until the oil start to seep out from the coffee bean itself during roasting. It is a wash beans, pea berries. It has a hazelnut, um, coca, berries, lemon, and then apricot aftertaste. So this is a very interesting coffee that I've tasted. It has good body, it has good texture, at the same time it has a little bit of lemony effect, and then ends off with a bitter hazelnut kind of aftertaste, which is quite interesting. And if I don't put the shots well, it will be quite unpleasantly acidic. So that's my benchmark to tell myself whether I actually do a good shot or not. So without further ado, let's start the grinding on the Commandante. Right, remember we are at the grind setting of 1. Let's start the timer. Right, Commandante tend to sleep on my hand because probably my hand is not too big. Right, I think a silicone band will definitely help to allows me to grip better on the Commandante. Yep, it's very slippery. And especially the pea berries are harder, they are denser. So yeah, it's slightly harder to grind. Alright, that takes exactly 1 minute to finish grinding 15 grams of coffee using the Commandante, right? Let's move on to the King Grinder K6. For those of you that's unfamiliar with the Kin grinder K6, it actually trying to mimic the easy press, the easy presso, right? Whether it's the K Pro or the J Max, right? The adjustment grind setting is on the outside, so you don't have to actually access to the inside. So that makes the adjustment a lot easier. It's a heptagonal, I believe it's heptagonal, uh, seven-sided conical burr sets, right? And it's just a steel burr, right? As compared to the K4, which is actually titanium coated burr sets, right? And the K4 is actually dedicated hand grinder for espresso, and this one is a multi-purpose one, which allows you to do from filtered all the way to espresso. I've tested the grind setting. At 20, it grinds really fine, almost flour-like, and definitely it will choke your espresso machine, right? That's my take on this grinder, right? And on my previous video, I mentioned about the tasting notes, right? I mentioned about the tasting of the filter coffee on the Commandante and the K6 when it's lukewarm, but when it's cooled down, both coffee taste almost identical, right? With a little bit of muddiness on the K6 as compared to the Commandante, right? So both grinder perform excellent for filter coffee when it cools down, right? So let's measure 15 grams of coffee. By the way, maybe I should measure the weight of this grinder, right? The entire grinder weighs about 641 gram, including the crank. So it is quite a heavy grinder, whereas the Commandante is about 650. So Commandante is slightly heavier, right? So just to measure again, the K6 slightly longer, taller, slightly slimmer, is 10 gram less as compared to the Commandante. And I like the design of the K6 with a silicone grip on the outside. So this allows you to really grip firmly. And because it's slimmer as compared to the Commandante, you can see the size difference there, right? It allows you to grip easier, especially for lady, right? It definitely feels to give you a better grip as compared to the Commandante, right? So let's drop 15 grams of coffee inside there. Right, 15 gram exactly. Right, so let's time and see how long it takes for us to grind on the K6. The grinding experience on the K6 is very different, right? It is almost I'm slicing through the coffee beans, then cracking it. The Commandante feels more like cracking the beans rather than slicing it. I can feel the bean jumping in the Commandante, but definitely not in the K6. The grip on the silicone padding definitely uh, enables me to grab on the grinder more firmly. Alright, it takes about 50 seconds, 10 seconds faster than the Commandante in grinding 15 grams of coffee. Right, so that is the speed differences between the K6 and the Commandante. Commandante takes about 1 minute, the K6 takes about 50 seconds. So it's faster than 10 seconds, right? Right, let's move on to the espresso preparations. So let's start with the Commandante. Fifteen grams of coffee. I'm going to just heat up my Famina. Portafilter is nice and hot. I have a dosing ring. Right, then I'm just going to do a quick WDT. I usually do from the bottom first, slowly move to the middle layer, then I'll move to the top. Right, then I'll gently tap onto my tamping pad. Right, then I give you a temp. Right, and there it goes. I will flush a little bit of water first on the Femina. Okay, my cups holds nicely below. Okay, let's have a closer look on the extractions. Right, so let's start the pool. Probably grind a little bit too fine. Let's continue to go over to the second shot. The first shot on the Commandante, I probably have to redo it, but this is another video. Right, I'm just going to move on to the K6. Sorry about the noise, I'm doing this video in my cafe. Right, so same process. Right, I'm not going to show on camera. The process of WDT is the same. Right, starting from the bottom. Right, and slowly move to the top. Right, gently tap onto the tamping mat, and then just firmly tamp down. So it's exactly the same process. Right, so now let's try. Right, let's see the extraction from the bottom. Right, again, it's probably a bit too fine, which means I have to dial in the machine again, but it's fair, which is grinding a little bit too fine on both, which means on the Commandante I can actually go at the second setting, and on the K6 I can probably increase the grind setting by 1. Well, at least the extraction looks better on the K6, right, as compared to the Commandante. Right, so I'll probably do a test another time, but let's taste the coffee nonetheless. Right, so let's taste the first cup of espresso from the Commandante. The smell is really robust. The smell is actually very pleasant. Somehow, I'm smelling a little bit of almost floral-like smell. Oh, it is bright, but it's the pleasant kind of bright. Oh, wow. The lemon effect really punched me in the face. Lemon, berries. Definitely, I taste the berries. The hint of bitterness at the back. Oh my god, this is really pleasant drink. Even though it's the extraction doesn't look really good, but the taste of the espresso is good. Mm, wow, it's good. It's really berry-like, right? Even though this is a medium dark roast, but the coffee tastes really juicy and berries, right? And the it has a good body. Um, Let me try the one on K6, right? Cheers. Wow. Oh, the acidity is slightly lower. Oh, but this is actually more pleasant than the Commandante. It has more body, more complexity. The lemonly effect is still there. The berries is still there. The floral smell is there. Wow. I actually like the espresso on the K6 better than the Commandante. Maybe I should give the Commandante another try to increase the grind size by one before I do this again, right? So let's do that tomorrow morning. So in comparison, I'm very happy with both grinders. Do remember, the K6 is only about 100, maybe $120, but the Commandante is over $350. So the comparison in terms of price is 1 to 3. Commandante costs 3 times as much as the K6 King grinder from which is manufactured in China. So I'm not too sure whether it is justifiable to pay so much as a beginner who just get into coffee to get the Commandante, because right now nowadays the Chinese grinders are improving a lot, and they are very stable. They are very the usability is very high, and finishing is good too, right? So it's up to you to decide whether what kind of grinders you want to get into, right? If you go for the brand, definitely Commandante is a good brand. K6 King grinder is not a pretty well unknown brand in the rest of the world. Yeah, so this is just for a reference, right? This is CY. Once again, thanks for joining me. I will try to do again tomorrow morning to pull another espresso on both grinders, but this time I'm going to grind slightly coarser on the Commandante, right? Maybe I also grind slightly coarser on the K6, right? I want to see a very good extractions on the Femina, and then let's taste the coffee again. Thank you for joining me today, and this is CY. Uh, Stay safe, and I'll see you very soon.